Hare Krishna. Welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Phalini Devi Dasi. I learned about Krishna Consciousness in 1972 and 73. I joined ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in 1973. And I was initiated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in 1974. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanitimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. So thank you all for coming, for watching. We really appreciate all the views that we have had and all the comments, and thank you so much. And we hope to keep giving you more and more material. So as I said last time, in my previous video, if you don't already have Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, that's really important to make sure that you have Bhagavad Gita as it is by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because this Bhagavad Gita is the only true exact translation of Krishna's original rendering of this knowledge. And we now have Bhagavad Gita in more than 80 languages. So this one is in Kannada. If you speak Kannada, if you read Kannada, you should get a copy of this. So this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So please bless yourselves. Make sure that you're owning one of these books, and please also read it. And remember that if you have a study partner, that's the best way to learn. So today I'm going to talk about my remembrances of my spiritual master. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, he is the Father of us all, he explained that in order to understand all the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide means authentic, someone who is actually coming in a line of disciples, teachers and disciples from Lord Krishna himself. So we are part of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. A sampradaya means a line of teachers and students. So we are in a line of teachers and students that originates from Krishna to Lord Brahma, to Narada Muni, to Srila Vyasadeva, and on down the line to our Guru Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swami. So in this way, we get pure knowledge transferred, just as if a person is high up in a mango tree wanting to pick mangoes, he might find the most beautiful ripe mango at the top of the tree. But does he just drop it to the ground? No. He hands it down to the next person, and then the next person, and then the next person, so that the mango is preserved properly. And in that way, the same way, we take knowledge from Lord Krishna through the disciplic succession. So, Srila Prabhupada, the first time I was introduced, I would put that in quotes, introduced to Srila Prabhupada was through his disciples. So Srila Prabhupada's disciples were interviewed on a television talk show, and I talked about that last time. So this is how I was first introduced. And then the next time I was introduced was in the airport when my brother took me there to meet the devotees and get a book from them. And then after that, I saw a devotee on the street in Denver, and he gave me a Back to Godhead magazine, and he asked for a little donation. I gave him a little bit of money, and he gave me the invitation to the Sunday feast. So then I went to the temple in Denver, and I was so fortunate that I got to be there for kirtan. Kirtan means the chanting of God's names and glories, and that's there in every religious path. Every bona fide religious path practices chanting or singing or speaking God's glories. So this is a very common thing. And I was very happy to find that at the temple, the Hare Krishna temple in Denver, they practiced that same procedure. So, and then also, I got to taste prasadam for the first time. Prasad means the mercy of the Lord. So, just like in Catholicism, where they offer a small wafer to God the Father, and then it becomes transformed into the body of Jesus. So we take that in our mouth, and we are blessed. So that's the same principle that we follow in Krishna Consciousness. Whatever we cook, whatever we eat, first we, excuse me, we cook for the pleasure of God. We offer our cooking to God, and then we partake of his remnants. His remnants are called prasadam. That means the mercy of the Lord. So that was one feature of my introduction to Srila Prabhupada. And then I was given a book, and I read that book and appreciated it very much. By reading that book, I was more deeply introduced and familiarized with Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So I was very impressed. And from reading that book, I made a decision to dedicate my life to helping others become familiar with Krishna consciousness. So after I made that decision, I made an arrangement to go out to Los Angeles to meet the devotees there and to live there with the devotees. And soon after I moved to the temple, my little boy and I had a 2-year-old son. And after we moved in to the temple, Srila Prabhupada came only a few days later. And the first time I got to see him in person, I was so surprised because he was smaller than me. I was so surprised because I had the impression somehow, after reading the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the book that I had received at the airport, I had this kind of unconscious or subconscious impression that whoever wrote this book must be a very tall, big imposing person, impressive, majestic person. So when I saw this little tiny man, I thought, oh, that's not what I expected. But then I saw how in his eyes he had so much love. He was looking at everyone in the temple hall, so beautiful. His eyes were wet, and they looked like there should be tears coming down his cheeks, but there were no tears. It was just that his eyes were swimming with wet love for God. That's the impression I got. And not only that, but when he walked, he carried himself so majestically. He actually appeared taller than he was. And I saw how personably he dealt with each and every devotee. He looked in all of our eyes. And then he saw my god sister, my friend. Her name is Shachi Devi. She was kneeling down, looking up at him like this. And he looked down at her and he said, "Is everything all right?" And she was so grateful to Srila Prabhupada for asking her a personal question. She replied, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada, everything is all right." Even though in her life at that time, everything was not all right. But because he showed her that loving care, she felt that everything was all right. And Srila Prabhupada reached over and patted the head of one little girl whose father was very sick. And in this way, he showed genuine concern and love for his disciples. So then I learned after Srila Prabhupada climbed up, he first paid obeisances to all the deities, and then he climbed up onto his Vyasasana. A Vyasasana is a very large chair. It's a beautiful throne, and it's actually the disciples of Srila Prabhupada created this beautiful throne for him to sit on. Not that he, demanded it. No, he could sit on the floor. He could sit under a tree. But because it's the duty of the disciple to worship and serve the spiritual master with love and devotion and care, so he humbly accepted our service. So then gradually I learned little things here and there like this. And the next morning, Srila Prabhupada was coming out of his room to go on his morning walk. So I learned that if you are very strongly desirous of being close to your spiritual master, then you can position yourself in such a way to be able to have his darshan. Darshan means audience. So he came out of his door, and I was just one of a few people. We were gathered at the bottom of the steps, and Srila Prabhupada came down the steps, and some people offered him a flower or a bouquet or a piece of fruit or a plate of fruit, and Srila Prabhupada accepted all their loving offerings with sweet reciprocation. Then he climbed into the car. He was going for his morning walk. And so then he would turn to all of us and pranam in gratitude. And then we would bow down to offer our respects to him. This is one thing that's recommended in Bhagavad Gita, is to offer respect to the spiritual master. The spiritual master is a person who is fully in love with God, fully dedicated to the service of God. And as we say, on the same wavelength, or he's in the same mood as God himself. So when we connect with such a spiritual master, we're supposed to offer him respects and offer him service, render service to him, and we're supposed to ask him questions. Not just irrelevant questions that have nothing to do with how we can make spiritual advancement, but questions that are relevant, that we can benefit by hearing the answer to. So these are the 3 steps that are given in Bhagavad Gita, that we offer respects, we offer service, and we ask questions. So these are very important features of the process of taking shelter of a spiritual master. So one older god sister of mine, her name was Tushti. She was senior to me, and she asked me, would you like to do some service for Srila Prabhupada? And I said, yes. So she said, okay, you can change his flower vases and you can clean his spittoon. So I got to do both of those services, and I learned a couple of things by performing those services. One was that Srila Prabhupada did not want us to throw away flowers that were still good. He wanted us to keep those in the vases, and then when they were wilted, then we could throw them out. He did not want to waste anything because he understood that everything is Krishna's property, everything is Krishna's energy, and it should be used in Krishna's service. So he never liked to waste. If someone walked out of a room and left a fan spinning, he would correct that person, and he would tell them, you should turn off or switch off the fan before you leave the room. If someone left a light on, he would say, no, you shouldn't do that. That belongs to Krishna. That energy is from Krishna. It belongs to Krishna. You should not waste it. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada taught us lessons. Every day, every word from his mouth was a teaching. And not only that, but his own personal example. By his personal example, he taught us how to be clean, how to be punctual, how to be gentle and kind, and at the same time, be willing to teach when someone needed a lesson. He was willing to teach out of compassion, a compassionate heart. So I remember when Srila Prabhupada used to come to Los Angeles, he would arrive at the airport, and in those days, there was no security system. We didn't have to go through a security check in order to go to the door, the gate. So we were all able to go up to the gate and wait for Srila Prabhupada. So when he would come in, all 100 or 200 or 300 of us would be flat on the floor, offering our pranams to him. And everyone else in the airport was like, whoa, what are these people doing? What's going on? Because in America, nobody bows down on the floor. But we just felt so protected by Srila Prabhupada and by his energy that we were very bold. We were courageous, and we would do practically anything to be able to help others become introduced to Krishna consciousness. So immediately after Prabhupada would come out of the gate, and we would offer obeisances, we would start kirtan. Kirtan, remember, means to chant or sing the names of God and the glories of God. So we were having an uproarious kirtan with drums and little tiny cymbals called kartals, and everyone was so happy. We were practically breaking the escalator, jumping up and down and touching the ceiling, those high ceilings in the airport terminal. And as we walked down the corridor to the front of the airport, the whole corridor was echoing with the sounds of the holy names of the Lord. So those were very sweet times. And I remember one time Srila Prabhupada was sitting on his Vyasasan. Remember, that's the big chair that he sits on. And one god sister and god brother of mine named Vishaka and Yadubar, they are cinematographers, and they created a movie that they wanted to debut for Srila Prabhupada. So they set up a screen on the side of the temple hall, and they began the movie. And during the movie, there was a scene where someone was cooking for Krishna. He was cooking chapatis. And Srila Prabhupada reached his hand out and said, "Give me one." Because Srila Prabhupada really liked chapatis. And chapatis are dry bread that are like a flat bread, not dry, flat bread. And they are very soft so that you can actually tear them with one hand. And they're used as kind of like a scoop to pick up vegetable preparations. So Srila Prabhupada really liked those. So when he reached out toward the movie screen, everyone laughed because we appreciated so much his childlike mood. And then after the movie was finished, the lights came on, and Srila Prabhupada looked at all of us in the temple hall. He said, "All of you, if you just follow this process, then you will all go back home, back to Godhead." And we all cheered, "Jai Srila Prabhupada, Haribol." He said, "Process that I have given you, that is, chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day." One round means you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, on one bead. Then you go to the next bead and you chant that same Maha Mantra again and go all the way around 108 beads. Where's my bead back? Anyway, then you turn around and go the opposite way. And then you turn around and go this way again. So each time you go around the full set of 108 beads, you complete one round. So we chant at least 16 of those rounds every day. So this is the Krishna bead. You can get these japamala in Vrindavan, you can get them in Mayapur, you can get them at practically any Hare Krishna temple. I got my first set of japamala from a devotee in Denver temple. So you chant here, you use the thumb and the middle finger, because the forefinger is considered to be contaminated because it's been pointed at others accusingly. So it's not a good finger to use for touching the beads. So thumb and middle finger, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Next bead, Hare Krishna, like that. So we chant at least 16 rounds every day. It takes me about 2 hours. It depends on the person, how long it takes. But yeah, so that's one of the requirements of any disciple who has taken initiation from Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada or his followers. So there are many disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are now giving initiation to newcomers, people who want to learn more about Krishna. If you want to learn about God the Father, who is also known as Krishna, Krishna means the all-attractive person, the person who attracts every soul. God the Father is the Father of everyone. So then also, Srila Prabhupada gave us 4 principles to follow. 4 principles that keep us pure. We are required to refrain from eating meat, fish, or eggs. And there are a few other items that we avoid as well, like gelatin, lard, mushrooms, garlic, onions. We do not eat those things because they are not offerable to God. So we only eat foods that can be offered to God. Another principle that Srila Prabhupada insisted on us following is that we do not engage in intoxication, even down to the point of no coffee and no tea. Means coffee that includes caffeine and tea that has caffeine in it. We avoid those things because caffeine is intoxicating to the body. It's not good for the body. So we avoid meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex. We restrict ourselves to having sex only in marriage and only for the propagation of children, only to procreate a Krishna conscious child. That is the highest level of engaging in sex life. And then the last of the 4 principles is that we do not engage in gambling. So that is what is required at the time of initiation. So I made those promises, and everyone else in the Hare Krishna movement has made those promises. So if you are interested, if you are eager to know more about God, then you can consult the Bhagavad Gita. You can pray for guidance, how to understand God the Father, and how to find a spiritual master. It's actually stated in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna himself that if one becomes very sincere and serious to understand me, then I am in that person's heart. God is in everyone's heart. And when the soul becomes very strongly, seriously interested in understanding him, in reconnecting with God, then God in the heart guides that person to the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. God himself introduces us to the spiritual master. So with that, I will conclude, and thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for the many thousands of views we've had. We're so grateful to all of you, and we hope to see you again soon. Hare Krishna.